There we go. Share screen, that, share. Okay, there we go. There's my beautiful face. And good evening, everyone. I'm going to talk about, come on, switch. I'm going to talk about the favorite sites I use for satellite imagery, GOES satellite imagery. And then we'll get quickly, well, halfway through, we'll get into the outlook for 4 days. And you can watch me use my weather tools for a forecast at the Antelope Valley Soaring Club site, or pretty much anywhere in the Mojave Desert area. I use two sites for the GOES satellite imagery. These satellites are GOES 16 and GOES 17. GOES 16 is the eastern US. It's over the equator in but looks down on the CONUS of the United States along 75 west longitude. And then GOES 17, known as the West GOES, is at 135 west and pretty much has good coverage over the west coast. So College of DuPage is my site of choice, and this funny sounding one called Sasquatch from WeatherBite. And then, like I say, I'll follow up with a weather briefing. There we go. I found the keys to change the pages here. So the College of DuPage, I don't know where this place is, to be honest, but the website looks like this. You have a menu on the left-hand side that gives you a region of the country to look at. Then one of 16 channels. That means infrared and visible imagery, which it seems overwhelming, but there's only about 2 or 3 or 4 that we normally look at. In the parlance of weather forecasting or TV weather, we call that the infrared photo and the visible, in this case, high resolution visible. This selection over here on the left is you select the product images that are custom built, and one of them is good for looking at stratus and fog at night. It's hard to see this here. We'll get to the live page in a moment. And then finally, you can select the number of images to pick. The GOES satellites over the United States, or the CONUS, get images every 5 minutes. So 24 images would be, what would that be? That would be 2 hours. And you can go all the way up to 200 images, which allows you to go back and see throughout the full day. So let's see, here's what the live site looks like. It, by the way, doesn't work tremendously well on a smartphone or a tablet, but it does work pretty well on a web browser. Here I've zoomed out so you can see the whole menu. Normally what I do is I zoom in a bit on the image so I can see this left-hand side and then just scroll up and down. So this is what you initially look at weather.cod.edu. You have to pick a global sector, Western US. You can pick regional subsectors by moving the mouse over these white dots here for the region of the country you want to look at. Let's pick that one let's pick this one, for example. And then you pick the imagery. Now, I normally use 2. One of them is the visible red channel, which of course we have nothing right now, it's dark. But the infrared channel is just channel 13, shows the surface temperatures and cloud top temperatures. So again, you have to scroll up and down a bit on this. The user interface isn't the best. Let me get rid of your pictures here. But there's we're set at 24 frames. So if you just hit this button here, you can start the imagery. And then the other thing you want to do is go to these icons here in the top left of the image window and pick product overlays to give you mapping. And I normally turn on counties and then all the roads, state routes, highways, interstates, then close this window. And lo and behold, here's Los Angeles County, the brown lines here. The green lines, this is interstate, what is that? 15, going up Cajon Pass to Las Vegas. And these brown lines here, this is Highway 138. And it's really good to have these roads on here to geo-reference yourself fairly easily. At least I can do that. Without, it's hard to do with the counties only. And with the roads, it makes a big difference. One other option you can put on, but I normally don't, is station IDs. I know this is hard to read, but if you look carefully here, you see 4-letter identifiers. KPMD is right here under where I'm wiggling the mouse. So that's how it works. If you want to zoom in a bit, this is live imagery, by the way. The times are down here, 11 March. Remember, we're in UTC time. So it's 11 March ending at 0411 Zulu, which would be now, about 6 or 7 minutes ago. So this will auto update about every 5 minutes, and it's really excellent for looking at details. Now I'm going to go over to the visible photo and then set this up to 200 frames, which means I can go back to when the sun was up. Let's see, I got to roll, you got to scroll down here. I'm going to stop this animation. If you stop the animation, you can just drag it along here and pick up anytime you want. Here's 2114 Zulu, which is 1:14 p.m. in the afternoon. Is that right? No, I'm sorry. Let me get this right here. Oh, 1716 Zulu. You can see the cloud cover. And if you want to zoom in, you can go up here to localized sectors. And then you pick one for your region. You can see this is zoomed in on Southern California. And what it will do is it'll load all 200 of those images. Again, I'm using the mouse to scroll down here a bit to pick up this animation bar. Here, the sun comes up in the morning. It's just frustrating. I'm going to stop it. Does anybody have a comment?
You can sure see the wave bars.
Yeah, let's see. Unfortunately, the user interface is not very good on this, but it does, I am used to it, and it is my favorite Go satellite site. Does anybody know what identifier KVCV is? George Air, is it still called George Air Force Base, or it's called, what is it called?
SoCal Logistics.
SoCal Logistics, KVCV. Does anybody know what KGXR is? That's Gray Butte General Atomics Reaper Field. And then of course KPMD is over here. So I sometimes just like to take the scroll bar. Oh, you can see the mountain wave there. There's a high, more effervescent layer right in here, which is downwind of the San Gabriel Mountains, which are right here. And then you can move this back and forward and see that. You can see the cloud streeting from southwest to northeast. And then about mid-afternoon, a pretty good storm came through the San Fernando Valley into the western San Gabriels. I did see some lightning on that on my radar scope smartphone app as this came through, and then it spread a bunch of high clouds into the area between Palmdale and Victorville. If you look here carefully, you can see this quite cloudy there right over El Mirage and Gray Butte and Victorville. Then it kind of moved out, and then the sun set. So this is a very good way of looking at the high resolution imagery. There's some other product overlays that are useful. If you go to infrared, well, let me go to infrared here. Again, you might wonder why I don't use the blue channel visible.
Yes, that was going to be my question.
Yeah, the reason I don't use that is because that is only 1 kilometer resolution. Let's see. Let me go back here.
Red's the finer resolution.
So the red is the only one that has the 0.5 kilometer. And you know, glider pilots, we want to see those small little cumulus clouds, and this is the easiest way to see those. So if I switch back to red channel, you'll see And now I got to drag it back to that time. But you see, it does look a little sharper when you pick the red channels. You always want to pick that. There's another site at University of Colorado State called the RAM-B web server. I'm not going to talk much about that because it used to not have very good georeferencing, so you couldn't see roads and things like that. Although I looked at it a couple hours ago, and they must have added it here in the last month or so, which I wasn't aware of. But if I go to the clean LWIR, window channel IR, that's number 13 channel is the one recommend. Now we have the infrared photos. Now you might wonder what these colors mean, but you can, if you go to product overlays and go to these tabs right here, click color bars, and then click cloud top temperature. Lo and behold, on the right are temperatures in degrees C and the colors corresponding to it. Actually, there is one that's a little more useful, cloud top height. Let's do that. Now, 20,000 feet, 15,000, 10 to 20,000 feet is in blue. So it tells you what the cloud tops are essentially. And if I animate this, you can see, let's see, there it goes. I'm animating it. You can estimate the cloud tops from this color bar here. So I hope that's a little bit useful in using that satellite website. Some of the other things down here that are useful are if you're flying your airplane in to go gliding in the desert and need to get home before the stratus and fog moves in. By the way, I'm going to change this to 24 frames so it doesn't take all day to load. 24 frames, 12 frames an hour, that's 2 hours worth of imagery. Remember, it's every 5 minutes. Down here are special color imagery products. And this one is really interesting here. It's NT Microphysics. If you do that, you will be able to see fog and low stratus. Now, today is not a good example of that, but when you have a mixture of high, thin clouds around, the fog and low stratus shows up beautifully on this product right here. Once again, it's the RGB color products, NT Microphysics. And I briefed some of my friends who want to know when the stratus is clearing, or so they can fly back and get in before the low clouds roll into a place like Gillespie, for example. Okay, College of DuPage. Let's move on. The other website that I discovered is something called Sasquatch. And this was built up by a bunch of programmers, PhD students at University of Oklahoma. And when you load this thing on a web browser, it looks just like a map that you can scroll, pan, and zoom on. And you can select layers here or satellite channels, type of weather satellite products, and then pick the particular satellite. So this is just a static image, and then animate the image. WeatherBite, now I'm on a live web browser page. The company that does it, that's just 4 or 5 employees, probably 1 or 2 that are active doing the programming. It's called weatherbite.com. And if you go to weatherbite.com, what you need to do to start using this, let's see, Sasquatch, learn more. You need to get a login. Now, the satellite imagery is free. You just have to have a login and password. So don't worry about that. Some of the other products on there do require a subscription. But if you sign up and log in once, it pretty much keeps your password in a cookie. So when you go back to it, you don't have to log in anymore. So you go to the web app. And here's what it looks like once you finally logged in and you just started up normally. You type in sasquatch.com/map and you get the United States. Not very useful, but if you pick the layers you want, you pick, let's pick infrared. Pick legacy window IR. This is the infrared channel. Oh, there's one other thing I forgot here. This is important. I need to get out of this. There was an X right here on that dialog box. You have to pick the satellite. The CONUS satellite is GOES 16. They don't have the label for this is the satellite that's over the East Coast, and GOES 17 is a similar satellite, but over the West Coast. So you have to pick CONUS GOES 17. Now you get the better resolution over the Western states. You notice it doesn't really see much beyond Eastern Colorado. So you do that, then you get out of that selection dial. By the way, mesoscale 1 and mesoscale 2 are higher resolution sectors that move around. And with those, you can get 1 minute updated imagery. I don't find that very useful. 5 minutes is pretty fast to have an update. They use that for like high impact weather events like tornadoes and severe thunderstorms. That's what mesoscale 1 and 2 is. But just normally click CONUS, get out of that dialog box, and then pick your satellite imagery. Either pick visible, always pick the red channel, which I'm going to pass on right now since it's dark out, or the infrared legacy window channel, which is what I have. There's a transparency on this, by the way. I leave it at 100%. And then before you leave this page, put on some overlays. I normally put on all the roads. They only have major highways. And what else do they have on here? Geographic. Major lakes. No, we don't care about lakes. Borders. Country borders, county borders. I normally put those two on. Then you get out of this dialog box. And from this point on, it's pretty much panning and zooming. I'm just using my left mouse button to pan around and my roll button on the mouse to zoom in. And then you can start animating it. Here it's loading. Doesn't take very long, unless of course you're doing a talk. There we go, just about done. Now this is my second favorite site. And the main reason is I can't put as many geographic features on it. I can't put cities or airport names or anything like that. But if you stop this animation with the stop button here, you can also just drag it along to pick out what you want to look at. And when you hold the mouse button down, if you look very carefully, there's a map underlying the satellite imagery. And what it is an OpenStreetMap, which is similar to Google Maps, with county lines, cities, and a lot more detail. And if you zoom in enough and hold this button down, you can see there's Rosamond, just above Lancaster, Lake Los Angeles. And if you look real carefully, you'll be able to see some county roads and state highways on there. So that helps you geolocate a little better. So they just they just developed an app for iOS and Android, and it works a little better on the app than it does in the web browser. It's not that much different. By the way, the web browser version of this site works pretty good on your smartphones or tablets, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. But you can't see the background image on the smart app, either Android or iOS. So that kind of leaves me less to be desired. But on smartphones where you have GPS, you can turn on a button, an option, I think it's right here, that puts the your current location. So I always thought that if you had this in the cockpit, you could turn on the current location and you'd see what the clouds look like reference to where you're located. As I said, the problem right now is that you can't go georeferencing with their app. So I sent a comment to the developers and they said they'll think about it. So it's not very actively developed, and that's why I consider this my second choice. Lastly, internet in the cockpit is rather hit and miss. So don't expect to be getting this in the cockpit unless you're working at low altitude in certain parts of the country where the cell phone towers work up at your altitude. Okay, that's Sasquatch. I gotta find my next item here. That's the same thing. Now, a lot of people like to use this Colorado State website. It's in my one-pager URL links if you have that sticking around somewhere, but it's right here. It says Ram Slider Sarah Colorado State EDU, and it works pretty well. It's not a, it's in a satellite coordinates thing, so it's looking a little bit obliquely. The biggest problem I had with this was the user interface is difficult to learn, and I'm not going to try to explain it to you. I'll leave that as a homework assignment. But one of the things they did in the last week or month or two, which I wasn't aware of, is they put overlays with good map backgrounds now. They didn't used to have this. So you now can put on airports and roads and county lines and I think cities. And it does, see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 layers set up right here, 3 layers. So that works pretty good. Now you can animate it up here, play. Takes a little while to load the images. But this is an infrared photo that's current in real time. Once it loads everything, you should see it animating. I'm not sure I'm going to wait for it to animate because,
Well,
yeah.
Christopher, I have a quick question. So this looks like from the imagery that it's slightly kind of an oblique image.
Yeah, it's in satellite coordinates. It's what it looks
Right.
like from the satellite. They don't remap it to another
right.
Mercator or polar stereographic.
Would that then throw off where the actual, where you're seeing the clouds, if it's at an oblique angle, then it wouldn't really correlate straight down to the ground necessarily.
Well, you can see here, LA County and Kern County lines, these are north-south lines, and that's the obliqueness of this projection going on right there. So that's just the way it is. That's just the way they are. Now, I have no idea why this loop isn't working, but I just want to point out one other feature, and I did this last summer when I got calls from Jim Payne and Jim Lee up in the Minden area. A friend of his, a paraglider pilot, was lost, and he wanted archived satellite photos for the last known point. Something must have happened because the tracker or the paraglider dropped directly to the ground. But I was able to get an archive through this archive imagery button here with a beginning and ending time, and it gave you the imagery over a time period. Unfortunately, it was a GIF animation, so it wasn't particularly efficient, but it is a way to get archived imagery. So that's all I'm going to say about this site, ramslider.cira.colorado State or colostate.edu. So any questions on any of 3 of these before I move on to the briefing?
I was just curious, on one of the first site, I think I was curious what one of the satellite images was called Veggie.
The college in DuPage is an interesting site. That's about 30 miles west of Chicago, and it's a junior college. So you have to wonder, how are they getting their funding?
Oh, you probably got an NSF grant or a Unidata grant from National Center for Atmospheric Research or something like that.
Yeah, number 3, it says Veggie.
Number three. Oh yeah, it's a near infrared channel. Oh yeah, by the way, whenever you pull up any one of these images, if you want to know more about what the heck you're looking at, go to product description, and it'll give you the resolution, what channel number it is. There's 1 through 16. And there actually is a product guide, which you can go to more and more depth information about what this imagery is useful for. They give examples and so forth. So the question mark there is really a good source for learning about what channel you're looking at and what it would be useful for. But just to review, visible red for half-kilometer visible photo imagery and 13 for IR. are the two favorite sites. And then if you want to look at fog stratus at night along the coast, this is the site you want to look at right here. Okay, so let me capture myself here. So we're going to look at the weather briefing for the next 4 days. Remember I said look at the big picture, and this is the Aviation Weather Center surface charts, or surface prog for prognostic charts. And here is the forecast at 06 UTC, which is 10 p.m. tonight. And you can see the light green and dark green are showers. The blues are snow. They tend to overcast, and then the thin black lines are sea level pressure. In other words, it's a surface map with fronts. And here's a deep surface low in northern Wisconsin. But all I want to describe here is that as time goes on, this is 10 a.m., 8 Pacific time, 1800 UTC Thursday, tomorrow. Still got quite a few showers around the mountains, a little less in the deserts. And then by 4 p.m. in the afternoon, these are every 6 hours, starting to decrease, and overnight, by Friday, that's Saturday, let's see, by Friday, 4 p.m., which is 0Z or UTC on Saturday, the showers are pretty much over, except a few around the San Bernardino Mountains here. And you've got this flat high pressure region invading the plateau region of Nevada and northwestern Utah. So that's the big picture from the Aviation Weather Center surface prog charts. If I look at 500 millibar charts, here it is for this morning, 10 a.m. Wednesday. And you can see a low right along the northwestern California coast. And if I step through this every hour up through, well, let's see, 10 p.m. tonight, the low is still northwest of us along the central California coast. And then by 10 a.m. or 1800 UTC Thursday, it's right over the Mojave Desert or southern San Joaquin Valley. And then the low moves to roughly the Las Vegas, Colorado River Valley area by, this is 4 p.m. Saturday, 0Z or UTC on 4 p.m. on Friday, 0Z Saturday. So the low has moved east by then, and we're getting the drying and the northerly flow in. So as we go into the weekend, let me just step forward here to 4 p.m. on Saturday. Northerly winds at 18,000 feet, about 65 knots, but the surface winds are light. I'll show you later here shortly on the for the Mojave Desert area at Antelope Valley Soaring Club. This is getting into a fair weather pattern, and Saturday and Sunday should be basically clear with light westerly winds at the surface. This is this is a surface map with the black lines being surface pressure, the red lines being 5,000 foot temperatures or 850 millibars. The blue lines are below freezing. Red lines are above freezing. The green is, of course, precipitation. And we're looking at 8 p.m. Wednesday night. And if I just step through this, you can see the precipitation just comes back again in the afternoon on Thursday. You can see it kind of expanding in the area northeast of Los Angeles and Southern California in the desert here. And then it kind of goes away at dark overnight. And then by Friday, it's pretty well, it's all over with as far as showers, perhaps a few in the mountains well south of El Mirage and Antelope Valley Soaring Club site. Still showers in Arizona and Utah, but it's pretty much all over with by late Saturday and Sunday. We're into a fair weather pattern with a confusing mix mash here of isobars for sea level pressure, but it's basically just a fair weather surface high over the region. Windy is another way of looking at this, windy.com. And Here we are looking at the European model, ECMWF, at 500 millibars. And these are wind speeds. And if I usually step 24 hours at a time to save time. There's the forecast for 2 p.m. on Thursday. The low is over the Tehachapi's. By Friday, it's over Las Vegas. How does that compare to the global model from NOAA, GFS? Yeah, they're pretty similar. Usually they're pretty similar when they're only 48 hours into the future. But as time goes on, Saturday at 4 p.m., 2 p.m., 1400. Sunday at 2 p.m., a weak high pressure ridge at 500 millibars over Southern California, and another trough moving into the Oregon, Washington states by late Sunday and Monday. Oh, it's finally dropping into the plateau again. We're going to have another cool windy period early next week. So looks like the fair weather period over the weekend is aligned with most people's work holidays. There's Tuesday at 1400, 2 p.m. and another ridge of high pressure midweek showing up in Southern California. That's all I want to talk about there. Notice I mostly stay on the European model since I trust it better, but I compare it to both. What happened today? This is the radar imagery going back, let's see, about 12 hours from now. There's some pretty good thunder showers that came through Fresno and Hanford area in the afternoon. It moved into the Sierra foothills. And of course, they moved across the San Fernando Valley into the San Gabriels. This big area, open area of no rain here, that's because the Edwards NextRad radar is out of service. It's been out for at least a week now. They're waiting for parts. And you might wonder, how the heck do you know when a radar is out of service? This particular website doesn't show it, but most of the radar apps you can get on smartphones will show when the radar is out of service. Not all of them. So be careful when you're trying to interpret real-time radar data. I use an app called RadarScope, which I've talked about before, and you pick individual radars, and it was very clear that the Edwards radar was out of service. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up here in 5 minutes, unless there's questions. This is SkySight for Thursday, Cumulus cloud base, and it's showing 9,500 foot cloud bases and a lot of clouds out here. Well, how do I know there's a lot of clouds out there? This is just cloud base. Well, I select cloud cover. Again, this is for Thursday, 1400. Thursday, you got to keep checking all these things to make sure you know what days, times you're looking at. Here it shows the blues are low clouds, greens middle clouds, reds high clouds. It's all low clouds, primarily in the western Mojave Desert. Still, that's quite a bit of cloud cover. Surprisingly, there's a fairly scattered cloud layer here around El Mirage down to Phelan and Cajon Pass. Not sure about that. But if I step forward to the same time on Friday, still a lot of cloud cover. Remember, the cutoff low now was over in the Colorado River Valley, so there's light northerly flow. How do I know that? Well, I remember what it looked like. So let me pick 6,000 foot winds, and let me pick streams here. This will give us our little particles that scoot along on the map. It's kind of slow to develop this. Here they go. They're starting to grow now. They're showing light northwest winds over Gray Butte, Crayfield, El Mirage. But quite a bit of cloud cover. Cumulus cloud base is not 9,500 now. It's a little lower. If this thing would just update. 10.5. Oh, it's a little higher. I'm sorry about that. That's for Friday. Let's look at Saturday. There should be considerably less cloud cover. This now it's not showing cumulus cloud base in here. It's dried out, and it's only showing it along the coastal side of the San Gabriel Mountains. The winds are not that strong. In a moment, I'll look at the surface winds for these 3 or 4 days, and then the final soaring forecast. But these are light west-northwest winds, 10 to 15 throughout the day, and the sky's cleared out. Height of thermals doesn't mean there's no thermals. They're there. But instead of being 9 or 10,000 feet, what are they now? They're 7,500 feet. Well, I'm moving a mouse around the area of Antelope Valley Soaring Club site, 7,500 feet. Or you could use the color bar on the right to infer that. And then by the time I get to Sunday, thermals are probably going to be a little lower. Sure enough, 6,500 feet and light westerly winds. Now, I already created a point forecast or a meteogram for Thursday, the 11th, Friday, the 12th, and Saturday, the 13th. And you can see here that the soarable height, the gray area here means that there's likely going to be a lot of cloud cover. And you can see here on the low cloud and Q quite a bit. The grays mean probably 50% or better cloud coverage. This is for Thursday. Thermal strengths are 4 to 4.5 knots. Similar cloud cover actually on Friday, but notice it shows sunshine here on Saturday with lower thermal heights. So they go from, it looks like 8,800 to 9,300 for thermal heights, MSL, to about the same heights on Friday. The winds over here are all 11 to 14 knots, except late afternoon. It comes up a little out of the west-northwest, both Thursday and Friday. And then by the time you get to Saturday, notice that this pink area is the condensation level and the red is the thermal height. So there's no cumulus clouds expected, but thermals are a little weaker, but still 6,800 to 7,400 feet is not bad. Not a bad day for a late spring, early, late winter actually. So that's what the forecast looks like. I don't have Sunday on there. Well, I actually could bring it up. Yeah, you have to cancel this point forecast and pick. Matthew Scudder and SkySight, when you pick a day, it gives you 3 days to look at. And I'm trying to delete that. Go to point forecast. Let's pick between Gray Butte and Cray Field. And then I wait. And this will be, oh, I did the same thing. Sorry, that's the same one. I need to go to Friday. One of the problems with SkySight is it's very flexible, very powerful, but it's all interactive and dynamic, so it is slow for it to do all these calculations and updates. It's not good for briefings. It's best to screen capture this. Okay, now we're on Friday at 1400, 2 p.m. And pick a point forecast and then pick the location. And it goes out to a server somewhere and it grabs all the data and then renders it with the various colors in the web browser. It's pretty cool. So you can see here, this is Saturday. Thermal heights are 69 to 7,300. They're 5,100 to 5,400 feet on Sunday, weaker thermals and drier conditions. Winds are still quite light, at 10 to 15 knots in the afternoon. So it looks like a fairly pleasant flying day on Saturday. Not a great day. I don't think you have to worry about mud, or I don't think they're going to get enough showers to make that much difference on the off pavement areas there. So that's what I have for today. Thank you very much. Unless there's questions.
No, that's great. I appreciate all the continued insights and tools that you use. It's just good to see all those different types of options where you can really scroll down and see what's going on. And I'll be certainly having to watch those videos a couple times to have that all sink in. So, but,
Yeah, there's so many options. You really want to settle on the ones that get you to the answer you want as quickly as possible, and then stick to that. But just don't forget to look at the cloud cover and evidence of showers or thunderstorms if we're in that kind of a pattern, because that can really muck things up. But if it's a fair weather day and fairly clear, you can see which days will be absolutely blue and which days will have scattered Qs. So,
sure.
Any other questions?
Walt, this is curiosity, John Chapman.
Yeah.
Could you go to SkySight Saturday, the 13th around Mojave?
I'm doing it as we speak here. Well, here's Mojave.
What is that peculiar event occurring to the southwest there?
The white.
Well, what's
White
happened?
bar.
What we're looking at is the height of thermals,
Yeah.
and this is probably downwash off the Tehachapi Mountains that is wiping out the thermal layer. I'm thinking that's what that is.
I'd love to see a turbulence indicator, but anyway, okay.
Yeah, if I put wind barbs on there and I pick a higher altitude, 10,000 feet, I think you'll see the winds. Actually, if I pick the mountain wave forecast, you'd probably see a weak mountain wave right here with this pattern.
Okay.
And that's the downwash off the mountains that obliterated the thermal layer. That's the short, quick answer.
Okay. Thank you much. Kind of about where that Malibu went in a few weeks back.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I'm going to zoom out here quite a bit and bring up the vertical velocity. This is that's too high. Let's go 19,000. This is going to show vertical velocity associated with mountain waves, and there's very little. The strongest updraft is right here, right downwind of Double Mountain. And the blue area is the sink. That's where it was wiping out the thermal layer. If I go back to Friday, you'll probably see a little more wave activity. Actually, when you have these unstable cutoff lows come over, you don't get much in the way of mountain waves. You don't get any at all. And that's because you don't have the criteria you need for a mountain wave, which is a stable layer at mountaintop with the winds increasing linearly with height. So that's why there's no mountain wave on Thursday or Friday.
There's two philosophies about mountain wave, if you will. There's the large, usable Southern Sierra Nevada, up the Owens Valley and back on the Whites, whatever. And then you get other situations where every last mountain in the Southern Sierras will drive a small wave, and you'll get a lot of interference patterns. And I've seen that a few times. You can often do strange things on some days. You can fly thermal, you can fly ridge, and you can fly wave, all within 5 miles of each other.
Yeah, well, here we go. Here we have some nice mountain waves down here. I have to go down to El Paso.
Or Baja today and yesterday and tomorrow.
Yeah, here's Alamogordo right here. Here's El Paso. This is actually south in northern Mexico, where they're getting strong westerlies around that cutoff low, which was moving into Arizona. So there they don't have the instability. It's still fairly stable, and the winds are stronger over the ridge tops, and it's generating gravity waves, mountain waves.
And you can see that in the visible satellite pictures that you were showing earlier.
Yeah, I don't remember looking down there, but there's also a wave area down here. This is let's look at it for today. I'm going to back this up to Wednesday. Yeah, there's pretty good wave today from Palm Springs, Yucca Valley area down towards Vulcan Mountain, east of Warner Springs and Julian, all the way to Mount Laguna and south of the Mexican border. Alistar knows all about this, don't you?
Acumba, here we come.
Have you guys ever caught wave from the winch launch?
As strong as wave I ever experienced in my life was late one evening in Carrizo Gorge, which is just a few miles northwest of Alcombe Airport.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I didn't believe it. I mean, yeah, but we get wave at Alcombe sometimes, but typically, I mean, Vulcan Mountain is just exceptional. When the wind is right, it's
Vulcan Mountain is right here, isn't it?
yeah,
Right
and that's
there.
why I think we discussed it a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
In bad weather, people keep flying into that. The downwash of that wave is frightening because I think I told you one of the ways I found to get into that wave is to ridge soar the outside of Vulcan. Dive, when you get high enough, jump over, and you're in the downwash until you find where it turns around. That's a very exciting experience.
This is Mount Laguna, and here's Julian right here. Okay, so
yeah.
Here's Julian, Warner Springs. So the downwash is east of.
Well, that's funny. No, because that's a different way. That's not.
Yeah, this is not a normal wave, is it? This is a little different.
No.
The wave structure is different here. The red bright areas are updrafts. The blues are downdrafts.
Yeah, that's not matching what I. That's waving off of Hot Springs down into. This is Hot Springs Mountain, which is east of Warner Springs. The blue area there.
The blue area.
And
there.
this is down in we're way down in the desert. This is a wave off the backside of Hot Springs down into Borrego Valley. That's not what we're used to.
Yeah, this is not typical.
Yeah, normally typical. The wave sets up off of the VOR. The Julian VOR is right on the top of Vulcan Mountain Ridge, and when that works, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I don't know where Julian where that is. I think it's right in here, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the valley. This is the Borrego Valley, and the ridge line must be right here.
Vulcan is out. Oh, you see Julian there in the blue.
Yeah.
Vulcan is a bit north of that.
So
it's between Julian and Warner Springs, isn't there? And it's not showing anything in this color.
Not this time.
It's just not working. It's a different wave. I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody want to make a comment or have a question about any of the things I talked about here?
Walt, if folks are interested in wave, one of the more amusing activities you can get is do little time lapses and look at the pattern of lift and sink you see there. And a few degrees change in wind heading, and here there be dragons. Be careful.
Oh yeah. The wave can move around.
It's okay. I moved up from 2 p.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning here, so it looks a little more conventional there. Sink in this area, and then lift east of that. At any rate, it's hard to animate these things because the graphics don't don't update fast enough. You almost have to do screen grabs on it and put it together so it doesn't mess with your mind with all this latency.
But I guess what you're saying, Walter, is there is no excuse for not having SkySight.
No, there really is not. And while we're talking about mountain wave, I've been networking, trying to get the FAA managers and the NTSB to prod the FAA to get requirements for a mountain wave product. They don't have one. And the National Weather Service relies on FAA funding to do that. And the senior scientist in NCAR, UCAR, Bob Sharman, has developed all the turbulence and mountain wave forecasts for the FAA that displayed on the Aviation Weather Center site. So he would like to see this happen, but the FAA has to set the requirements. So just recently, I've gotten the attention of some of the top managers in the FAA, and Bob Sharman showed me some graphics from the Malibu severe downdraft crash that I showed you last time. And his algorithms for mountain wave work really well, but they all showed turbulence areas. the turbulence areas were southeast of the crash site, which is where the rotor was.
Yeah.
And the strong updrafts around Roseman or Lancaster.
It's
That's
the
where the,
downdrafts that
It isn't
downdrafts that
rotors
people need to
crash.
understand.
and that showed the severe turbulence. But I pointed out to Bob Sharman, really bright guy. He understands his mountain waves brilliantly. I said, that is not the hazard. The hazard was a severe downdraft.
Yeah, the downdraft is much stronger than most
Yeah.
pilots can even imagine.
Well, there is no product, or there is no advisory by National Weather Service in aviation to forecast that.
Yeah,
Which
but
is-
those of
which
us
is-
who have flown wave have gotten to understand how really savage that downdraft can be.
Those who have been trained in that and remember it when they're flying and know how to recognize it can do that. But there's
Yeah.
enough people out there that haven't. So
Yeah, but
I'm
I'd say
trying to,
glider pilots who have flown in wave have found out mostly one way or the other just how treacherous that downdraft can be.
Yeah. So the issue is trying to get the FAA to recognize that it's an important product they need to add.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm trying to do here.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening to my talk again. I hope it's not too disjoint, but as more times I go over it, I think the more times you'll see how I'm using it, and you too will be able to do the same. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Walt. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Chris, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's on the
Yeah, I
program?
have a
next
couple-
week?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, next week we're gonna hopefully, if I can get folks lined up to have stories, soaring stories, cross-country soaring stories by the folks who have gone long
Ooh.
distances, and so I hope to have a couple.
Christopher.
Yes.
Yeah. Larry Twino would like to make an announcement. I should have done this up front about your safaris. Would you say something, Larry?
Yeah, this is the moment. Yeah, so I guess my new segment is called "Have Glider Will Travel,"
Oh.
and I've got
Oh,
got two announcements, basically about Wave Camp and also about Safari. Just heard today that Region 11 will be having a Minden Wave Camp from April 12th to 16th. They're still working out the COVID issues there, and likewise, what gliders will be available for rent and all that. But they've at least landed on those dates,
okay.
and so that's something to be thinking about. Second thing is I've been trying to resurrect a concept that used to be very popular in Region 12, which is the Safari group. And basically, this is a loose ragtag group of glider pilots that kind of get together to try to get a tow plane into places where we don't usually get a chance to soar at. And we try to keep it within about a one-day drive of the LA basin. And last year, we would do a spring orientation planning meeting and then plan on 4 different safaris through the year. Last year, I just kind of rammed through a event in Lone Pine, which we had about 10 gliders show up, and I think we had a lot of fun at. So this year we've decided that we're going to try to do a little bit more. We try to put together 4 events, and we're just really going to have a insider or planning session here in another week or two, and then there'll be an announcement as far as what we want to do and see what we can make happen. Right now, we're talking about either a Lone Pine Bishop Safari, a Parowan Nephi Safari, an Ely Safari, and Christopher, you just triggered in my mind for a 29 Palms Safari. That would be I enjoyed flying out there. So anyway, that would be it. They'd be spread out through the summertime, and more will be announced on the various news groups within the week.
Great. Sounds awesome, Larry. We really appreciate that. And I will put a plug in for the 29 Palms Safari. And after the flying, we can have a big barbecue at my a place called Flat Lizard Ranch. It's in 29 Palms. And got plenty of room for people to crash and put up their tent or bring their RV or whatever. So
Wow, well, you just like up that one a little bit.
Well, AGCSC might bring a winch.
right.
Yeah. Does your winch still work out there?
Oh, yeah.
I know that's there. I don't know the status of the winch.
I said AGC is winch, or a combo winch. We could.
Oh. Well,
That would be-
Alistair,
That'd be fantastic. I'd love to fly my discus on a winch tow for the first time ever.
okay, so why don't we retitle that Winch Fest 2 in 29 Palms?
Yeah.
What would be a good month to do that, do you think?
Anytime after mid or early June is August too.
Okay.
August, September,
We've got a blank spot in July right now.
July. Yeah, July would be fine too.
It's just real hot out there, if I remember.
Oh
What-
yes.
What's wrong with
It's-
springtime? I mean, there's some good soaring, particularly in the San Joaquin Valley, Central California. Cindy, particularly you and we can remember having great times if the weather cooperates. But that's true of every site you take a safari to. The weather has to cooperate.
So what you're saying is that things kick off a little bit earlier out there, that maybe we should consider that for May?
Possibly. And what about Hemet? And I haven't talked to the Cypress guys and Lake Elsinore guys. We haven't.
Well, I think they're hemmed in by their current operations. And again, with the safari concept is to go places where most people don't go. You can go to Hemet and join their club and fly as much as you wish. 29 Palms, I think, is one of those places that most people have not experienced, and it's phenomenal on a good day.
Yeah, it is absolutely really phenomenal. It starts to heat up by the second week of May out there, so it certainly can have plenty of good thermal activity out there in early May or mid-May. And also put another plug of the fact that even though it is a municipal airport, we're kind of all by ourselves. Occasionally somebody going across to Vegas will fly in to get gas, but other than that, it's pretty quiet, and we have the place to run to ourselves for the most part. So it's nice
Okay.
pace runway. And
Again, this is all the kind of input that we need at this point, because we're still completely flexible. And I like the idea of a winch thing at the very beginning of the season, because it kind of gets people launching and landing and practicing those parts of the program. So maybe the 29 Palms would fit really well for May, and then put the Lone Pine maybe more into July, something
Larry,
like that.
question for you. Maybe I got the feeling wrong, but go over the time schedule for this so far. Are we talking a 1 day or a 3-day event, or maybe more? I don't know.
It depends on what the group wants to do. Generally, I would say that it's a 4-day event, Thursday through Sunday.
4 days makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you're driving all those distances.
It's a day
Oh.
each way to drive, and now how long do you want to fly?
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people in the past have used them as launching pads too. There's a lot of events that happen in Utah, and front running some of what Bruno is doing makes some sense. And then you do a Bruno program, and then you go on to Utah or on to Yellowstone after that. Tell you truthfully, that's what I'm thinking about doing. It's just using the June trip is really kind of a launching pad to get all the way back into Yellowstone. I flew there last year, and it was nobody knows about this place, and it's just great. It's
Wow.
big sky.
yeah,
Big Sky Printer, I thought you were going to Driggs or something like that.
Driggs is no more.
Well, times change. The mountains
Yeah.
are there though.
I spent some time in Driggs way many moons ago. Okay, well, Larry, this is great stuff, great info, and I appreciate your doing a plug on this and bringing this to our attention. I'll just keep in communication with you, I guess, and we'll share, ideas, and I'll get over with the guys over there at 29 palms soaring, and fingers crossed that they can still, pull it together and keep the place up and running.
And that's still dawn out there, right?
Yeah.
Dawn?
Yep. Mhm,
Okay.
sure is. Yep.
I have a fond memory of 29 palms. It's first and only time I've ever seen a 126 do a loop on the wire.
Oh,
Oh.
you bring back bad memories.
Okay, well, great. Well, thanks, folks, for joining in, and please again spread the word around to anybody you know or would like to sit in on these. And we just need to get the word out. I think just to, there's certainly an awful lot of good information that's passed around on these, and I think we just need to push harder to get the word out to the rest of the soaring community, and we'll keep at that. So meanwhile, everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and happy soaring, and we'll see you next week.
Long,
you.
everyone.
Bye, con Dios.